Hello again, Culinary 2 students. Today we are going to be talking about knife skills. So we talked about how the chef knife and just knives in general are the most important tool in the culinary kitchen to chefs. Today we are going to talk about how to properly hold the knife and how to properly execute those knife cuts. And we're also going to talk about the most popular cuts. I am going to also have on our webpage, on our PowerPoint, some different videos that I want you to watch on how to do those cuts. I was going to make some videos of myself doing those cuts, but because I don't have the special equipment and all of that with the different camera angles, I thought that the videos that I'm going to link for you would just be better options for you to see because they can do it up close and they can just do that better. So let's get started. All right, so the objective of today the first part is to learn how to apply the procedures for preparing your workstation for your knife work. So what you need to do when you are going to be using the knives in the kitchen, whether you're at home or in the kitchens at school, first thing you want to make sure that you're using a clean and sanitized cutting board. Now, in our kitchens at school especially, we have that huge stack of those cutting boards, right? And we hope that they've been cleaned and sanitized properly, but a lot of people come in contact in that room, right? And a lot of people are touching and using them and going in and out of the room. So what should we always do? Spray them down, sanitize them, right? We don't ever want to assume that something is clean. So go ahead, sanitize it. We know the stuff we have in class kills everything in 30 seconds, all right? So go ahead, do that. It doesn't take long. All right. If you have a cutting board at home, maybe that it's kind of slipping, it's sliding if you go to move it. The ones we have in class, they shouldn't slide because they have those rubber corners. If it is sliding at all, go ahead and just take a damp towel and put it between your countertop and the cutting board, and that should eliminate any sliding that you might have. All right, continuing on. So here's what you want to do. You want to make sure that you're using the appropriate knife for what you need to do. Also, we want to make sure that our knives are sharp because a dull knife is actually more dangerous than a sharp knife because you're having to use more pressure to push, which can increase your chances of having it slip and cutting yourself. So when I say the appropriate knife, let's say I have to cut an onion and I'm going to be dicing it up into small pieces. I would want to use the chef knife. Remember that big knife I showed you with the long blade? You would want to use that. That would be the appropriate knife for it, rather than the paring knife. Remember the one with the little blade and the little handle? That would not be the best choice for that cutting task, all right? So in class, that's what I'm going to be looking for. Are you using the appropriate knife for the cutting task at hand? All right, now this next one, some people are kind of like, oh, okay, this is cheesy. But really, Freddie? But it is important. When you are going to cut, you want to stand with your feet shoulder width apart, your weight evenly distributed on your feet, and your shoulders square to the table. Okay, really, why is it a big deal? Well, it's a big deal because you want to be square. You want your weight, on both sides, because if somebody in our little small workspace comes and kind of bumps you, you're not going to tip over and end up cutting yourself, right? So that's why I go over that and talk about how that's important. All right, moving on to the next part, how to execute proper technique for cutting with a chef knife. All right, so if you're looking at this picture, this is the proper way to grip a knife. The thing I want to talk about first is that you want to hold the knife in your dominant hand. Notice I did not say hold it in your right hand. Why? Because not everybody is right-handed. So if you're left-handed, you hold it in your left-handed. If you're right-handed, you're going to hold it in your right hand. So you're going to hold it in your dominant hand. Okay. Then if you notice on this picture, what the chef is doing, they're taking their thumb and their pointer finger and they're kind of pinching the blade right above where the base of the hand, right above where the handle is and at the base of the blade. And then they're taking their other three fingers, their pinky, their ring, and their middle finger, and wrapping it around the handle. All right. All right, and this grip is going to give you the best control with the knife. What I don't want to see, and what I do see a lot with students, is they take their pointer finger and they put it on the spine of the knife, and then they're holding the handle with the rest of their fingers. What happens is over time, that's going to put strain on your wrist, that tendon that runs up your arm. All right. So if you were to have a lot of cutting tasks, okay, that's going to put a lot of strain on that part of your arm, and you don't have as best control. So in class, what I'm going to be looking for is that pinch and wrap technique. Pinch the blade, wrap it around the handle. All right. So I just kind of went and talked about, you're going to wrap those fingers around the remaining part of the handle. Now, the other hand, so your non-dominant hand, is called your guiding hand. And notice in this picture where that chef's hand is on that carrot. Look at those fingers. Notice that they are not straight out. They're tucked under. Sometimes we call this the bear claw. Okay? Bear claw. The reason why they're tucked under? So we don't cut our fingers off, right? Curling our fingertips under, protecting them. All right, now when you really get comfortable with this, what you can do with your pinky and your thumb is use that to kind of push that food forward that you're cutting. All right, now the cutting motion itself, I'll just kind of walk you through it. But then, like I said, you're going to be watching some videos that will really show you how to do it. But you're going to begin your stroke with the tip of the knife pointed down toward the cutting board. It's kind of like at a 45-degree angle. And then the knife is going to glide forward as the handle of the knife descends toward the cutting board. Okay, so if you see this picture, you can see exactly how the knife is angled, all right, down towards that cutting board. All right, again, notice where the guiding hand is. Notice how the chef is holding the knife. All right, that knife is going through the carrot. It's going down and forward at the same time. And now it is all the way through the carrot. Notice how the chef used that whole blade, not just the front part of the blade, the tip, not just the middle, and not the end. He used that whole blade. That's what you should be doing. All right. And he wasn't sawing back and forth. Okay. It's kind of a nice rocking motion. All right. And again, when you're watching these videos that I'm going to post on the slides as well, you'll be able to see that rocking motion. Okay. And then again, you're at the, after you've gone through, you'll lift that end back up and the tip remains down. And again, it's just that rocking motion. All right. So this is where that first video is, where it's going to talk about those different cuts. Now we're going to move in and talk about some different basic knife cuts. All right. There's 3 basic knife cuts that you'll need to know. And in the food service industry, it's really important that professionals know how to make consistent cuts. All right. There's slice, stick, and dice. All right. Slice. I'm sure many of you have done this before. All right. You just want to make sure that they are the same thickness. That way, if you have to cook them, all right, they're going to cook evenly. A common term that is associated with slices is the rondelle. All right. So right there, those carrot medallions, that would be considered a slice. All right. If you have a round item like that carrot, you can lightly trim one side to prevent your item from rolling. Moving on to sticks, some common sticks, we have bâtonnet and julienne. How I help students remember bâtonnet and julienne is think of bâtonnet being bigger, B, bâtonnet, B, bigger. Julienne, fine, okay? It's like matchstick cuts. All right, bâtonnet would be, think of like a McDonald's French fry. Julienne is going to be like the size of like those carrot strips that you would have in a salad. All right, so fine, thin cuts. All right, so if you have a stick and you need to prepare a stick cut, you want to trim the item so that it's flat on one side. All right, then you're going to trim the other side so you almost have a box. All right, so you can see that in our picture there. Then you're going to cut lengthwise slices according to the thickness that you need. So are you going to make a bâtonnet or are you going to do a julienne? All right, so then you have those and you're going to lay them back up on top of each other. And then you're going to cut lengthwise again again, according to what you're making, Battenay or Julienne. And you can see here in the picture exactly those sticks. Pretty easy. Now, doing a dice, you just take it one step further. You line up your sticks and then you cut across and you have your dice. Very easy. So the dice are going to look just like a playing dice. We have five sizes for our dice. We have large dice, medium dice, small dice. Very easy to remember. The other two are a little bit trickier to remember. We have Brunoise, which is like an itty bitty baby size dice, and then Paysanne. Okay, and you can see that it's kind of like a large rectangle. Now, mincing, it's not one of our basic cuts because you cannot make mincing consistent, but it's something that we do a lot in the culinary kitchen. Okay. Mincing is where you do really, 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 really fine cuts, all right? And that's why we can't make it consistent because it's super, super fine. Think of like your herbs, all right, where you want it really, 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 really tiny, all right? And what happens when we're mincing is that as we're mincing, the food is going to ride up on the blade. So you can see here, it says as it sticks to the blade, slide it down, okay? And as we're mincing, it's going to spread across our cutting board. Flip the blade over because we don't want to drag the sharp part of the blade across my cutting board. It'll dull my knives. So flip it over, push it back into a pile. And you'll see a picture here of how that looks. All right, so you can see how fine that is on the cutting board, right? Now notice the chef's hands. He's still holding the blade, right, with the pinch and the wrap, but his guiding hand is on the end of the knife. All right, because he's going to be doing such a fast cutting motion, all right, his fingers would be in danger of getting cut. So he's going to put pressure on the end of that blade and do a rocking motion, all right? And that's going to help control the knife to do those quick cutting motions, to do that fine mince. All right. All right, again, this video here, I'll post a link to that and it'll talk about, the different cuts and it'll show you how to do those as well. So that's talking about, the knives, how to hold it, how to cut the different types of cuts, how to, properly stand. So that is all for today. All right.